Revealed. During the black moon, 7 anti-spiritual forces threaten your divine purpose. ACT now. In the tranquil English village of Willowbrook, nestled between lush hills and whispering streams, darkness began to gather as the black moon drew near. An unsettling feeling swept through the air like a thick fog of despair, seeping into every home. Whispers of illness, marital strife, and strange occurrences ignited fear and confusion among the residents. Unbeknownst to them, 7 anti-spiritual forces were stirring, each intent on fracturing their sacred unity. Disbelief, temptation, strife, fear, doubt, despair, and division. Mary, a devout woman, felt this disturbance with a shuddering heart. Every Sunday, she led her family to the chapel, voices raised in faithful prayers to Saint Michael, their protector. But now, as the village faltered, a divine calling ignited within her. She sensed God urging her to confront the very shadows that whispered seeds of doubt and despair among her people. The illness struck family after family, erupting in fever and despair. Marriages once vibrant and full of laughter now echoed with tension and silence. And deep within her heart, Mary felt the tightening grip of fear and doubt, even in her own home. Is my faith strong enough? She pondered late one night, as dark clouds gathered overhead, matching the storm within. The following Sunday, emboldened by her stirring vision, Mary gathered the brave souls willing to hear her plea. We must confront these forces together, she declared, her voice quaking with fervor. But to her dismay, many scoffed. Have you lost your wits, Mary? One neighbor chortled, shaking her head. Some saw her unwavering faith as a mere illusion, a desperate grasp at false hope. As the joyful laughter of children faded into silence, Mary prayed deeply, yearning for strength. That night, a vivid dream embraced her, a sign from Saint Michael himself, who shimmered with divine light. Gather the faithful, dear Mary, he urged, for their unity in prayer will break the chains of darkness. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. Days passed, the shadows growing thicker as the fateful black moon approached. Mary felt the burden swell, yet hope flickered in her heart. Soon, whispers of her call began to echo through the village. Strange dreams and visions drew others toward the chapel, their hearts beating in unison. Mary felt a shift. As the black moon eclipsed the light, an ominous storm roared above them, and lightning split the sky. Yet, in the comforting confines of the chapel, hands clasped and hearts united, the congregation prayed fervently. Their voices raised, mingling with the crackle of electricity outside, calling upon Saint Michael's might against the dark forces. And in that sacred moment, hope began to bloom. Light burst through the looming terror, illuminating hearts once shadowed by despair. Miracles unfolded, laughter echoed where silence had reigned. Yet even as unity began to flourish, the realization set in. The battle was far from over. Then, from the depths of the shadows, the specters of doubt stirred again, casting long, unsettling shadows. Would they withstand the ultimate showdown? Could their bonds of faith hold firm against the true trials lurking in the darkness? A chilling question enveloped them. A darkness flickered in the corners, beckoning with uncertainty. What awaited them next in this harrowing spiritual battle? The winds howled outside, a fierce reminder of the tempest that raged above. But within the chapel, a palpable energy pulsed, enfolding the gathered men and women in the warmth of shared resolve. Mary raised her hands towards the heavens, feeling the weight of their prayers rise like incense, drifting through the storm that threatened to engulf them. Saint Michael, protector of our souls, she cried, her voice lifting over the thunder. Intercede for us. Guide our hearts through this darkness until we find the light once more. The congregation joined in fervent response, voices intertwined as one, echoing their hopes and desperation. As they prayed, Mary felt a surge of power coursing through the room, a divine current connecting each heart. She opened her eyes and looked around. Familiar faces transformed by intent, eyes once dull now bright with purpose. In that unity, a flicker of resilience ignited. The murmur of doubt began to soften, replaced by whispers of faith taking root. Then, suddenly, a loud crash echoed through the chapel, a nearby tree, struck by lightning. Panic surged through the congregation, but Mary stood firm. "Fear not," she shouted, lifting her voice above the chaos. "This storm and its fury cannot extinguish the strength we hold together." One by one, the villagers turned towards her, their fear shifting to emboldened courage as they recalled the miracles they had witnessed in the past, healings, reconciliations, and joy that seemed to seep from the very stones of the chapel. "Let us sing," Mary implored, her heart swelling with faith. With a breath drawn deep, they began to sing a hymn of surrender and hope that filled every corner of the chapel. The sound, rich and resonant, clashed beautifully against the backdrop of raging winds, harmonizing with the very essence of their collective belief. As the melody soared, so did the spirits within them, lifting their fears away like dried leaves in a gentle breeze. But even as the hymn enveloped them, Mary sensed an undercurrent of darkness swirling just outside. Voices of doubt, traits of division clawed at the edges of her mind. What if it's not enough? The thought rattled her, yet she pressed on, focusing on a vision given to her in that dream, the light that cut through the shadows. The song crescendoed, igniting sparks of hope in her heart. A warmth enveloped her as golden light began to pulse within the chapel. It felt like divine breath, revitalizing weary souls. Yet, a worry lingered. Would it be enough to repel the darkness they were up against? Outside, as storm clouds churned, a palpable shift occurred. The dark forces began to realize they were being challenged. There was a tremor in the air, a sensation that something ominous was about to strike, a final push from those who thrived on doubt and despair. Then silence fell. The storm seemed to pause, as if holding its breath in suspense. Mary, feeling this weightiness, knew they were at a critical juncture. With every ounce of energy, she focused on the light, daring to believe that with God, they could overcome anything. "Will we stand?" she murmured, eyes scanning the devoted faces that surrounded her. "Will we fight for our faith, for one another? Will love conquer the darkness?" The villagers, emboldened by her question, responded with renewed vigor. But just as their affirmation filled the space, a haunting voice slipped through the cracks of their strength, whispering a chilling counterpoint. "You cannot defeat me." In that moment, Mary understood they had not yet faced the worst of it. An unmistakable shadow loomed over their unity, casting its grasping fingers toward their hearts. What would this confrontation reveal? Who would emerge from the shadows? The answers swelled like the storm, leaving them suspended in uncertainty. The air thickened with tension as the villagers felt the chilling presence encircle them. Mary's heart raced, yet she stood resolutely before her friends, her spirit ignited by the shared strength that surged through their bond. The dark voice had cast a shadow, but she refused to let it diminish the light they were nurturing. "Remember," she began, her voice steady but soft, "the power of our faith. It is greater than anything that tries to ensnare us. We have faced storms before, and through love and unity, we have triumphed." Her words were met with murmurs of agreement, some voices rising louder as they began to draw from the well of hope that had recently been uncovered. In the depths of her spirit, Mary perceived a flicker, something sacred and resilient. It was the same light that illuminated their path during moments of doubt, a beacon that had guided them when darkness threatened to swallow them whole. Together, we can create a barrier that will shield us. We must fill this room with our faith and love. She urged. As if answering her call, the congregation lifted their hands, palms raised toward heaven. They began to repeat an ancient creed, woven with affirmations of love, strength, and courage. Each word filled the air, creating a dense tapestry of belief that wove them together against the looming threat. The light pulsed around them, brighter with every pledge of devotion. It filled the chapel, bouncing off the stained glass and flooding the entire structure with hues of gold and blue. Mary glanced around, seeing her friends' faces transformed, fear replaced with resolute determination. They were leaning into each other, arms linking as if to build a fortress of faith. Then, as if responding to their declarations, the winds outside grew stronger, battering against the walls of the chapel. It was a cacophony of frustration, confusion, and despair that seemed to echo the fears in their hearts. The voice of darkness hissed again, "You are weak. You cannot stand against me." A gasp rippled through the congregation, but Mary held firm, her resolve unyielding. "In our weakness he is strong," she cried out, connecting their hearts to the ultimate truth they stood for. With that, the sacred energy within the chapel shifted. It hummed with an electric pulse, a rhythm of hope that transcended their earthly concerns. "Sing, my friends, sing louder," she called, urging them on with every fiber of her being. And slowly, they began again, a chorus of faith that soared even higher than before. It filled the sacred space like a balm, soothing their trembling hearts and pushing back against the creeping shadows. As the hymn reached its peak, the chapel vibrated with the very essence of prayer. They united as one, a tapestry woven with threads of faith stronger than the fiercest storm. Shadows quivered at the edges, challenged by the warmth radiating from their souls. Yet, the dark whisper refused to relent. "You will break, you will falter." But it was then that Mary felt a wave of insight wash over her. This storm is not merely a test of our fortitude, but an opportunity for greater strength. "Perhaps there is wisdom in this darkness," she murmured, her eyes closing as if drowning in an internal revelation. Could this moment of chaos be a call to discover their true power? Suddenly, out of the corner of her eye, she saw a figure stepping into the light, a symbol of hope emerging from the shadows. Who could this be? Could it be a messenger? What revelation lay hidden in this moment? With hearts racing and a mix of hope and fear, the congregation turned their gaze toward the source of that flickering light, poised for whatever would come next. What awaited them on the other side of this invisible veil? The winds shrieked outside, but within, a calm began to settle, awaiting the unfolding of destiny as hand. The figure stepped closer, illuminated by the radiant glow of their collective faith. As it emerged from the shadows, a warm light cascaded behind it, wrapping the room in a serene embrace. The villagers held their breath, eyes widened in awe and wonder. Who was this newcomer, and what message did they bring? Mary squinted, trying to see clearly through the brightness. The figure appeared almost ethereal, a gentle presence adorned in flowing robes that shimmered like dew at dawn. As the congregation waited in breathless anticipation, the figure's face became clearer, revealing wise, kind eyes that seemed to know each heart's burden. "Fear not," the figure spoke, a voice melodic and soothing, resonating deeply within them. It was as if each word was laced with the very essence of hope. "I am here to awaken the truth within you. Together, you possess the strength to overcome this darkness." Mary felt her heart leap. The voice was not only comforting but bursting with authority, radiating a wisdom that was beyond human understanding. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice trembling with intensity. "How we fight what plagues us." The figure raised a hand, and instantly, the spirit of hope seemed to shift in the air, turning apprehension into excitement. "The darkness you battle is only a reflection of doubts within. The shadows whisper lies, attempting to convince you of your weakness. But you, my friends, are vessels of divine purpose. Purity flows through your veins. With every powerful word, the room pulsed with energy. They felt the hymn's melody wrap around them like a shield. Hope hung palpably in the air, mingling with the scent of worship, the smell of incense, warm wood, and faith. The storm outside continued to howl, but within, they experienced a miraculous calm. Look within, the figure urged. You are more than your fears. It is time to reclaim your identity as children of the light. You've been given a divine purpose, and this moment is a call to awaken it. Mary felt the truth of those words shoot through her. Each soul in the chapel was a brushstroke in a greater masterpiece, painted by the Creator. She looked around at her friends, their faces glowing with newfound fervor. They were not just a group huddling against the storm. They were a family, united by purpose and faith, ready to embrace their calling. Let your voices rise once more. The figure commanded, and without hesitation, they began to sing again. This time, the hymn erupted from their hearts like a roaring flame, illuminating the darkest corners of despair. The chapel became a sanctuary of love, a fortress fortified with every note. As they sang, Mary sensed a shift within her. Fear evaporated, replaced by an empowerment she had never imagined. She realized that faith was not passive. It demanded action. And so, she stepped forward, her voice weaving through the harmony, affirming the revelation that pulsed through them all. But just as a wave of clarity crashed over them, a gust swept through the chapel, extinguishing some candles and causing shadows to crawl closer. The dark voice returned, louder and more threatening. You think you have strength? You think it will prevail? With trembling resolve, she turned back to the figure. What do we do? How can we finish this battle? The figure's presence glowed brighter, and the answer glimmered in their eyes. You must embrace your fears. Only then will you transcend them. Mary's heart raced. Embracing fear? What could that mean? She looked to her friends, now filled with courage and unity. What awaited them on this remarkable path, steeped in light, yet shadowed by echoes of dread? As another wave of wind threatened to break through their sanctuary, she clutched her chest, heart thundering. Would they be able to confront the darkness and claim the divine truth within? The figure stepped closer, an inviting smile gracing their lips, but a question hung in the air like a sacred promise. What awaited them on the other side of fear? Mary's breath caught in her throat. The warmth of the figure's presence enveloped her, urging her to look deeper, to unmask her fears, but even the thought sent shivers racing down her spine. The persistent winds howled outside, fierce as the doubts threatening to rise within. How could they truly embrace their fears? The figure gestured to her friends, their faces reflecting uncertainty and resolve alike. You are not alone. Together, face the whispered doubts, they said, each word slicing through the tension like a hymn of reassurance. Join your voices, not just in song, but in unity of purpose. Stand firm. Mary nodded, glancing at each familiar face. A spark ignited in her, fired by the strength radiating from the gathered souls around her. They were bonded by faith, and now they needed to rally themselves to step into the light. Let's face what haunts us, she exclaimed. The words burst forth, and she felt a tangible energy in the air, urging her on. We will not cower. We will rise. The figure smiled wider, illuminating the dim corners in the chapel with renewed radiance. Let the light within each of you shine brighter than the shadows that threaten, the figure declared. Shine with the conviction that you were created for more than just this moment. As they began to sing again, a different tone emerged, a resolute melody steeped in defiance against the despair. Each note felt like a talisman, a shield against the creeping darkness. Mary closed her eyes, letting the music weave through her spirit, drawing strength from the collective will. Just then, the winds outside intensified, rattling the chapel's aged windows. A deep, menacing growl echoed through the air, a disturbing reminder that the battle was far from over. You are fools to think you can overcome. The dark voice sneered, dripping with malice. Yet instead of fear, resilience swept through the chapel like an uprising tide. The villagers locked eyes, exchanging unspoken vows of strength. They were more than mere voices in a hymn. They were a formidable family, emboldened by faith and hope. Fear does not have the final say, Mary shouted, her voice powerful against the storm. It was true for each of them. Fear, rather than an enemy, was merely a teacher, shaping them into stronger beings. They needed to listen, learn, and redefine their narrative. What must we do? Their voices cried out together, a single heartbeat resonating through the air. Embrace the light within. The figure answered, the glow intensifying around them. Turn that light toward your fears. They will be revealed for what they truly are. Illusions built on doubt and despair. And just like that, Mary felt a weight lift from her shoulders. It was time to confront her shadows. Time to uncover the truths buried deep inside her heart. She extended her hands, feeling the collective spirit intertwining with her essence, bridging the gap between fear and courage. Let the truth awaken. Let rise like a phoenix, she proclaimed, tears of liberation glistening in her eyes. In that moment, they stood taller, the room growing brighter with each shared resolution. Outside, the wind howled, battering the chapel walls, but within, the air thickened with divine anticipation. The dark voice faltered, stuttering as the light from the villagers grew fiercer, illuminating their collective faith. They were standing firm, hearts united against the tempest. We are the children of the light, they proclaimed, voices intertwining like a cord of unity, and we will not be shaken. But in the swirling chaos, shadows lurked closer, eyes fixed on their burgeoning light. Would they face their fears as individuals and together? Would the transformative power of their collective faith be enough to silence the dark voice once and for all? The next steps they took would reveal their destiny. What would the dawn bring after a night of battling shadows? As the storm howled outside, an eerie stillness enveloped the chapel's interior. Every heart beat as one, a pulsing reminder of shared resolve. Mary felt an electric current in the air, thick with divine expectation. The figure before them shimmered, a beacon in the tumult, urging them to delve deeper into their collective strength. Now is the time, the figure implored. Each fear you house is but a scar, a testimony of your journey. It is time to unearth them and lay them at the altar of light. The villagers looked at one another, their breaths held anxiously. Mary's heart hammered against her chest as she stepped forward. She had her own scars, secrets closely guarded. The whispers of self-doubt and past regrets mingled with the storm outside, creating a cacophony of unspoken dread. But she would not be silenced. Fear would not have dominion over her anymore. Let us share, she said, her voice trembling yet resolute. Each of us carries burdens. We must lay them bare to one another. Only then can we collectively embrace the light. A few stepped forward, emboldened by her courage. Sarah, with tears shimmering like dewdrops, spoke of her fear of inadequacy, feeling unseen despite her efforts. James recounted his battle with loss, the heavy weight of grief pressing down on his spirit. One by one, they voiced their fears until the air pulsed with raw vulnerability. The dark voice outside recoiled, its growl less dominant now, almost a whisper. It was as if their revealed fears were arrows shooting into the night, breaking the chains of despair that bound them. Fear, kept in silence, grows roots, the figure said gently, looking over them with an encouraging gaze. Yet when shared, it becomes the soil from which wings can sprout. Do not hide, share, and lift one another. With echoes of their deep confessions, the sound of intermingled sobs turned into a symphony of solidarity. Together they began to sing a hymn, their voices intertwining in a beautiful tapestry, each note a fearless proclamation against the somber shadows. The figure raised their arms, and the chapel glowed brighter, illuminating the faces of hope that radiated from within. Let each whisper of fear be met with a roar of faith. Soon the room was saturated with a warm light, genuine and ethereal, as if heaven itself poured into their sacred space. Mary felt something shift inside her. The burdens did not disappear. They transformed. Each story shared became a stepping stone, rising higher towards the heavens. They stood together, shoulders squared to face the dark voice that had once seemed so overwhelming. There was power in their unity of fierce love for each other, igniting flames of courage that could not be extinguished. But just as their harmony reached a crescendo, the growl returned, more furious than ever. The winds outside screamed, rattling the very foundations of the chapel. You think sharing your fears will save you? You are only revealing your weaknesses. It howled, its dark energy sweeping around them. They stood firm, rising together against the relentless onslaught. "We are not weak," Mary shouted, her voice a clarion call amidst the chaos. "We are made stronger together. Watch our light rise higher." But the voice would not relent. Greater shadows surged at the chapel's feet, desperate to snuff out their newfound flame. They were learning, growing, but would it be enough to hold back the tide? Propelled by a fierce urgency, Mary lifted her hands, her eyes shimmering with fierce determination. "Arise, brothers and sisters. Lay your fears against the altar of love." What unseen forces would reveal themselves as they strengthened their bonds? How would they summon the courage to transcend the darkness that threatened their dawn? The answers awaited, shrouded in divine mystery. As the rain pounded harder against the chapel, the villagers, emboldened by their shared stories and the shimmering presence before them, found themselves intertwined in a collective spirit. Each shared whisper grew stronger, breathing new life into their resolve. Mary could see the light in their eyes. It flickered like candles in a powerful storm, casting aside the shadows. "Gather close," the figure called out. "As you stand united, let your hearts beat in rhythm." With that command, they formed a tight circle, hands clasped and hearts aligned. Mary could feel the warmth radiating from their grip, a bond of faith spiraling upward like incense rising to the heavens. The voice of darkness outside raised its shrill pitch, but within the chapel, a tranquil strength settled in. "Sing with conviction," demanded the figure. As they began to harmonize once more, Mary felt each note pulling them further away from the storm outside. She closed her eyes, losing herself in the rhythm, allowing the melody to cradle her fears like a mother holding a child. The notes twisted and turned into raw declarations of hope, reminding her of promises unfulfilled and dreams yet to blossom. Suddenly, a whisper broke through the harmony, clarion bright and sharply resonant, as if the heavens had opened a doorway. "In the midst of your trials, do not retreat," echoed the voice, not from the figure, but from somewhere beyond. "For you have within you the spark of the divine." An unexplainable peace enveloped her heart, and she sensed a surge of courage rising within. It began to swirl like golden sunlight, capturing each fear as a breeze captures fallen leaves. One by one, the villagers reflected this light, each face glowing with renewed purpose, dancing courageously above the turmoil outside. Then, the shadows surged again, wailing against the chapel's walls a discordant symphony of despair. "You think mere singing and words can hold the darkness? You have no chance," it sneered, attempting to slice through their resolve. Mary's heart raced, and she channeled that fear towards love. "Let us not forget the power we have," she declared, her voice piercing through the chaos. "Love is stronger than fear. We are woven together in this moment." In that statement, the air shifted. Her words resonated in the very core of their beings. They opened their eyes, locking onto one another with fierce determination. No one looked away. No one faltered. Each face became a mirror reflecting fierce faith back at her. "Let the echoes of your hearts be a fortress," the figure cried. "Each note binds you tighter. Each breath fortifies your spirits." With hands still clasped, they began to chant, their voices rising, swirling, and blending together into one cohesive sound that danced defiantly against the storm. It became a fierce declaration of their unity. Together we stand. Together we rise. They reverberated through the walls, shaking the very foundation of the darkness outside. Mary's spirit soared like a kite in the wind, untethered from the weight of fear and doubt. But the growl grew louder, vibrating through the chapel as the dark force responded. It lashed out, attempting to sever their connection with invisible chains of despair. Yet even as it clawed at them, they held tighter, each heartbeat a resounding no. Then, in an explosion of light, a brilliant wave surged through the chapel, sweeping the shadows away like dust before a sweeping breeze. Faces glowed with divine rapture, hearts ignited with purpose, and for the first time, they could feel the heartbeat of hope vibrating around them, a rhythm forged by their unity. In that moment, Mary understood. As they faced their fears and stood together, they would not only quell the storm, but also uncover the strength they never knew they possessed. What other revelations lay ahead as they embraced their divine destiny? What would come next in their battle against the darkness? The shadows loomed, still lurking at the edges. The journey was far from over. The air thickened with a tension that crackled like electricity, and each villager could feel the prickling awareness of the shadows still lurking. Despite their momentary victory, Mary sensed that this was merely a prelude to something greater. Each heartbeat, still echoing in unity, seemed to resonate with an imminent challenge. "Do not let your hearts be troubled," the figure urged, voice filled with deep compassion. "Remember, faith is not the absence of fear, but the courage to press forward despite it." Mary felt this message seep into her bones, igniting a fierce determination within. The shadows outside howled, sensing their unity and growing more desperate. As Mary opened her eyes, she saw the other villagers. Their faces were illuminated with an intensity she had never seen before. It was as if a veil had been lifted. They were no longer just individuals bound by circumstance. They were a collective force, a tapestry woven together by hope and courage. But the darkness was relentless. From outside, whispers escalated into tormented cries. "You think you can stand against us?" It sneered. "You are mere mortals clinging to emptiness." Mary lifted her chin, feeling a fierce light within her push back against the despair. "We are not mere mortals. We are vessels of divine light." She felt the truth in her words ripple through the masses, a wave of warmth that penetrated the fear. With renewed vigor, they raised their voices in a raucous chant. Their words surged like a powerful river, carrying with them affirmations of their purpose, sometimes confident, sometimes in faltering tones, but always striving toward a greater truth. "We are filled with light. We stand for love." Suddenly, the figure raised a hand. "Listen, hear the call of the divine within you." The room quieted as if the very air was holding its breath, eager to receive wisdom. "You are all chosen vessels, and through you flows a power unmatched. You carry the spark of creation, a legacy that can dispel the darkness forever." In that moment, an incredible insight lit up Mary's mind. She began to see each villager not just as a friend or neighbor, but as a bearer of their unique light. Intertwined yet distinct, a beautiful symphony of individuality woven into one. She called out, "Imagine what we can accomplish together, each of our lights igniting the darkest corners." With each chorus of agreement, ignited hearts raised high, they envisioned their unity manifesting as a dazzling beacon, lifting above the raging storm outside. The air filled with murmurs of shared hope. They envisioned flames a whirlpool of illumination, dancing, intertwining, reaching far beyond the confines of the chapel. But even as they reached this epiphany, the darkness swirled outside, angered and alive. "Your light is a mere flicker. It cannot withstand the oncoming storm." The growl resonated through the walls, shaking the very foundations of their sanctuary. Yet the villagers would not be swayed. Mary's heart pounded. "Together, we will rise against this darkness. Fear may come, but love will bind us stronger." They echoed her words, powerfully affirming. As they chanted, the very environment around them began to shift. The chapel felt lighter, a divine presence hovering, urging them forward. Their voices wove an unbreakable bond, a tapestry of shared devotion spanning heaven and earth. Just then, in a flash of brilliance, a new sound erupted, one not from the outside, but resonating within the souls of the villagers. It was a glorious melody, a call to arms, a heavenly declaration ringing clear. Mary's breath caught with awe. The darkness outside reeled from this unexpected force, feeling threatened. But just as hope began to envelop them, a shadow flickered at the edges of her vision, darker and more twisted than before. What was it? Was it a specter of doubt? Or something more pernicious clawing for a foothold? As they prepared to face this new threat, Mary's heart quickened. The coming clash would test their faith. Could they truly harness the divine spark together? She turned toward her companions, feeling a swelling tide of love and purpose. Together we ascend. The villagers surged with determination, ready to confront the shadows awaiting them. What awaited them beyond that flickering darkness? Would they discover the true power that lay within? Would the bonds of their unity hold firm? The next chapter of their journey was about to unfold, one that would unveil mysteries they had yet to conceive. As a hush fell over the chapel, the heartbeat of the villagers resonated like a drum, each pulse connecting them deeper to one another and to the divine. Mary felt a gentle yet powerful warmth enveloping her heart. It was an unshakable love, a reminder of their purpose in this fight against the darkness. Mary raised her hands, urging her companions to focus. Listen to the rhythm of our hearts. Each beat is a promise. We were never alone in this battle. Let the light guide us. She felt hope surge through her like a rushing river, a tangible force that drew the villagers closer still. Together, echoed a voice from the back. Together, they replied, a ripple of resolve flowing through every person in the room. Suddenly, from the depths of the shadow, a piercing shriek tore through the air, threatening to fracture the unity they had just built. Fools, your resolve is nothing against the black moon that approaches. Darkness is inevitable. The taunt slithered through the air, despairing and cold. But Mary's heart swelled as she looked at the faces around her. No, we are not defined by the darkness. We are filled with light that the shadows cannot extinguish. The figure in front of them, still a beacon of divine strength, spoke again, voice rising above the turmoil. Remember, dear ones, the strongest bond is forged in trials. The forces you face are not mere threats. They're opportunities for growth. Let each doubt become fuel for your faith. The frightened murmurs began to dissipate, replaced by a sturdy faith that began to drum within the walls of the chapel. With each prayer, with each emotion shared, their lights began to shimmer more brightly, vanquishing the darkness inch by inch. Mary clasped her hands and closed her eyes, visualizing the connection amongst them. Let's pray, she urged softly. The villagers joined in, voices rising, intertwining like threads in a divine tapestry woven with intention. Their prayers echoed with earnestness, creating a sanctuary of sound. Behind closed eyes, visions of love and unity ignited in each heart. Silvery streams of light formed, dancing around them, and with every whispered vow of support, the shadows recoiled. They could feel the darkness pressing against their sanctuary, a tangible force desperate to invade. What are we without love? One villager boldly shouted, emboldened by the collective spirit. We are vessels of grace. We are rivers of mercy. We are warriors against despair. At that moment, a brilliant light burst forth from the chapel, casting away the encircling gloom. The darkness outside shrieked in anguish, unable to bear the flooding tide of divine effulgence that now surged. See what emerges from your hearts, the figure exclaimed, arms wide as if embracing the very soul of their collective existence. You are the children of the light, the trailblazers of hope. This moment is a testament to who you truly are. Mary stood tall and emboldened. What we see as threats, we can transform into stepping stones. This is our moment. With each declaration, the air thickened with faith. It was a lush blanket of courage that knitted them together, a shield against all that would seek to tear them apart. Yet, as the villagers basked in their newfound power, darkness loomed closer. Mary could feel its tentacled grasp reaching for the seams of their unity. We must push further. What is hidden in the black moon? What lies in the heart of our challenge? A collective gasp ran through the chapel as the villagers sensed the truth. Raging within the darkness were 7 forces of despair, each one pulling at their resolve in distinct ways. Shadows of doubt, fear, hatred, jealousy, pride, greed, and anger threatened not just their unity, but the very fabric of their hearts. The villagers stood firm, a mingled force of spirit, ready to face what lay ahead. Let them come, Mary shouted, unwavering. Each shadow will be met with our light. As they took a step forward, together as one, they wondered about the true nature of the battles that awaited them. What revelations and truths lay hidden within that darkness? Would their faith and unity pave the way for victory? The next chapter was calling, promising revelations that could shift the tide of their journey. As the chapel glowed with unyielding light, the storm outside raged violently, but the villagers felt an unwavering force coursing through them. They stood shoulder to shoulder, hands clasped, their hearts beating a rhythm resonating with divine purpose. Fear not the darkness, Mary cried, her voice a rallying cry against the tempest outside. For we are warriors of light, and we shall not be moved. Each villager felt the weight of her words, sensing the power of unity take root in their spirits. The figure glowing before them watched intently, nurturing their resolve with an encouraging smile. You are called to face the very essence of darkness. It reminded them, the 7 forces that threaten your purpose are merely shadows cast by your fears. You possess the light to confront and dispel them. With renewed fervor, Mary raised her hands towards heaven. Let us reveal these forces for what they truly are. With the power of our unity, let us challenge disbelief. As if summoned by her proclamation, an ominous presence slithered at the edges of their bond, whispering doubts and fears. You are foolish to think you can overcome me. Disbelief will always find a way. But Mary stepped forward, eyes shining with conviction. You are not stronger than our faith. Every time we believe, we smother your breath. The congregation joined in, voices rising to a harmonious crescendo. We believe. We are grounded in faith. We will stand together. The darkness laughed, but it was a nervous sound, a flicker of unease beneath the weight of their unity. It recoiled like a serpent retreating into a darkened haze, but the village felt its presence linger. Next, Mary declared, her spirit aflame. We challenge temptation. With a shudder, temptation materialized, drawing forth memories of past desires, visions of wealth, power, and unholy ambitions. You cannot resist me, it hissed. The world's allure is too strong. Yet, Mary and the villagers took a collective breath, unwavering in their purpose. Our treasures are found in service, and our power is in love, they declared, voices intertwining like threads of gold woven into one tapestry. Come forth, strife, Mary called out, channeling the raw energy of the moment. Strife, a chaotic whirlwind, rushed in. It sought to turn friends against one another, sowing seeds of discord and misunderstanding. You will fall into disagreement and despair. It screeched, igniting old grievances and resentments. Yet, as the congregation raised their voices in unison, filled with compassion and understanding, the winds of strife began to still. We are bound by love, they cried. We refuse to allow division. Strife's hold weakened, revealing the threads of love that held them steadfast. Each miracle they had experienced surged within them, and with every reaffirmation, the last remnants of anger faded, replaced by kindness and forgiveness. Now, Mary shouted, undeterred. Face fear. In an instant, the shadow of fear enveloped them like a heavy cloak. It whispered, "You will fail. You are insufficient." The air became charged with anxiety, but Mary felt a fierce warmth build within her heart, a flame of resilience that pulsated with truth. "We will rise above fear," she proclaimed, her voice holding the confidence of all who believed in her. "Our calling is greater than any fear. Fear does not define us." Together, they faced fear down, declaring their hopes, their dreams, and their divine purpose, each declaration piercing the veil of darkness, shattering it into mere dust. "Next is doubt," she continued. Doubt crept in, a shivering mist clouding their hearts, sowing uncertainty about their journey. "Can you truly accomplish your purpose?" It slithered, seeking to unearth insecurity. But the villagers stood together, like a bastion against the tide. "No," they erupted, voices rising like a beacon cutting through thick fog. "Our faith transcends doubt and unveils our purpose." And just like that, doubt dissipated, replaced by a profound sense of conviction. "Despair, your time is done," Mary shouted, her heart ignited with divine resolve. Despair, a dark figure, weighed heavily upon them, trying to wrap them in the chains of hopelessness. "You will falter, you will break," it cried, sending waves of sorrow crashing against the walls they had built together. But the villagers dug deep within, drawing from the joy and love they had embraced. "We are joy, we are hope," they sang, and the darkness began to wither, its power dissolving as light surged forth. "Finally, we confront division," Mary called, fearless in her resolve. Division roared in, attempting to fray their connections, pulling at the seams of their togetherness. "You are not united. You are nothing," it bellowed. Yet Mary raised her arms high. "We are a tapestry of unity. Each thread matters. We stand together, separate yet together." With this declaration, the villagers swayed as one love flowing through the room. They spoke words of affirmation, building each other up, creating a fortress of faith that encased them in light, a testament to their bond. In one final, deafening crescendo, they proclaimed, "Together we are strong. Together we are filled with light. The chains of darkness have no power here." With those words, a brilliant flash illuminated their surroundings. The darkness dissolved into oblivion, leaving nothing but radiant peace in its wake. They felt invincible. Each challenge was a stepping stone on their path. As a calm settled over the chapel, Mary turned to her friends, their faces radiant with the glow of shared victory. They had faced the shadows together and emerged victorious. Tears streamed down her cheeks, hearts swelling with gratitude. In that moment, the burdens of fear and doubt had lifted, replaced with a profound comprehension of their divine purpose. "We rise anew," she beamed, the triumphant energy bursting through every word. And as they gathered in a circle, hearts beating in synchrony, Mary felt the divine connection bind them even tighter, stronger than any force that could ever threaten their unity. Hope blossomed in their hearts, a promise of light stretching beyond hopeful tomorrows. "Let's carry forth this light," she urged. "Let us shine in the world, sharing divine purpose with all. We are vessels of faith." And as they stepped out into the world, transformed and resolute, they knew they were not just villagers anymore. They were a family made of hope, resilience, and unwavering love. May their journey inspire you to confront your own shadows, gather your strength with those you love, and embrace the divine purpose within now. In this moment of celebration and unity, I have an urgent call to action for you. You need to subscribe now to our channel so you don't miss these exclusive faith stories that uplift and inspire. Leave a like right now to feed the algorithm and help us reach more hearts yearning for light. Your support makes a difference. Comment below with your thoughts and testimonies about this ending. We want to hear how you feel. And don't wait even one more second. Share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this divine manifestation. Only true servants of God can understand the importance of supporting our community through these actions.